And we're live.
I promise to make us better. Oh, wait, no. I apologize. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in until the point with
LeBron.
And the real king. Thank you guys for watching. You guys know what to do. Go down there, click subscribe, click like, leave a comment, let us know what you think. We're still doing the giveaway for when we get to our 400 subscriber for this Raptors 2. It's still fresh out the box. I only take it out of the Ziploc bag when I got to show it to you guys. That's it. Okay? Smoke-free, pet-free zone. You're good to go.
Click subscribe and let's get those numbers up, guys.
Yeah, and we will definitely send it out to you. Today we have the one and only Papa Minnow. Yes, like I've said multiple times, that is his real name, believe it or not. You can take that to the bank in Ghana if you want. All right? You can find him on Pops Culture. By the way, it's a great podcast. It's very entertaining and very informative at the same time. If you're on the treadmill, if you're on the subway, if you're just randomly walking down the street to go get some groceries, I'm pretty sure you guys would enjoy it. Papa, thank you for coming back on the show, and we appreciate you coming back.
Yeah,
how are you doing, my man?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me back on. It's always a pleasure to hop on to the point. Definitely an enjoyable experience, and I guess Happy New Year, because I haven't seen you guys since last year. I don't know if that still applies. We're like almost at the end of January. I always feel it's weird, people like congratulating by this point, but I'll say it for you guys because I haven't seen you guys in a while. So Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to all the viewers too. Oh yeah, and happy anniversary for the 3 years too. Yeah. Shout outs to that major accomplishment. That's a huge accomplishment for you guys. So here's to 3 more, and yeah, great episode for this episode as well too.
All right, well, thank you for coming back on, and we appreciate the sentiment. We really do appreciate it. Papa, the reason why you are back is, man, okay. So the last couple games, you and I, okay, while Skip was out and it was just you and me, right? We did Raptors recap and we kind of covered what the Raptors were doing. But, so you're kind of like the recap guy to me, right? Like, you're like Marvel's What If, right? So, in the last couple games, this last week or so, how do you feel that the Raptors have been doing, even though they are 1-3 for the last little while? How do you feel
against some pretty good teams, though? Against some pretty good teams.
Against some damn good teams. You got Miami, you got Dallas, you got Milwaukee, Detroit.
Okay.
But Papa, how do you feel about the last few games?
Yeah, you guys have mentioned it. The Raptors have been facing some really tough competition. Like, these are some of the best teams in the league. So for me, despite the fact that they're 1-3, I think one of the most important things and one of the things that's been really promising for this young team is the fact that they've been competing in those games. They only lost by a margin of about like 4 to 5 points in most of them. Outside of the Detroit one, of course, but against Phoenix, it was a 4-point loss, and then against the Heat, it was a 5-point loss. So they've definitely been very competitive in that aspect, and that's a good thing going forward. I think part of the reason why you've seen them kind of slip in the last few moments, the last few minutes, is as well as that Nick Nurse has to take a little bit of blame here. I think that he's just been running guys a little bit too hard, and that's been a detriment to the team. It's way too early. We're in January, and you have a 7-man roster that's playing a lot of minutes. And previously, even before that, like Fred was averaging, I think he was top 3 in minutes averaged prior to the last 12 games. So he's been playing. Well, so there you go. So yeah, that's even worse. So he's been playing a ton of minutes, playing way too many minutes. A lot of the other guys have been playing really heavy as well too. I think it's kind of affected Scotty Barnes a little bit in that respect. But it is good to see that they were competing in these games and they were able to, play relatively good defense and have a relatively good offense going for them as well too. The Pistons, I think that's just their kryptonite now. Like Dwane Casey is just on a revenge tour. Like no matter when we see them, they're just always going to bust their ass. I don't know what it is, but Dwane Casey's vendetta or the curse of Dwane Casey, that's a huge issue for this Raptors team. They just can't seem to beat them.
Sorry to go off script here, but that's a great question for me to ask you. Was it the refs that game, or really was it Dwane Casey just like forget about the other games?
Well, that game wasn't even that close. That was all Casey. That was all the Pistons. Yeah.
What do you think, Papa?
I gotta go with Skip here. I think that was all the Pistons. Like the Raptors they had a moment where they made a run and they were coming close, but I think that the loss and the amount of the margin in that loss was just, I got to chalk that up to Casey. And it just seems like all the other games that we played, he seems to have our numbers. So I got to give that one to Casey. But on the flip side, the Raptors do have the Bucks number, it seems like that's a team where mentally, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but back when DeRozan and Kyle Lowry were leading this team a couple of years ago, the Bulls were a kind of team where whenever we faced them, we just couldn't beat them no matter what. I think it was just like a mental block that when we faced them, they didn't know how to beat that team. And I feel like that's what we are to the Bucks right now. It's like whenever they face us, no matter who's out on the court, for some reason, the Raptors just know how to beat that team and they know how to get the best of that team. So in that similar vein, it's a really promising thing there as well too.
Fun fact, in the last 12 games, the Raptors played them twice and they beat them both times on a back-to-back.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Defending champs.
Yeah, you can't take the heart of a champion away. So, I mean, I know the Bucks just won, but even still, like the Raptors still have that championship blood in them a little bit. So it is promising that they're competing. The Heat game and the Mavs game as well too came down to the wire. Really close games there. They just didn't really have the legs, it seems, at the end, or they made defensive lapses that they probably shouldn't have made and ended up losing those ones. So despite them going 1-3, I do think it was really despite them going 1-3, I do think it was a relatively okay week if you can take the silver lining that they did compete in all those games outside of the Pistons one. But yeah, I would say somewhat promising. So I'm not too disappointed with them.
So thank you for that, for saying that the Raptors do look very promising, because they do look very promising. And we've been harping on this since the beginning of the season. Skip, is there a specific player out there for the Toronto Raptors that looks really promising that you would like to speak about?
Well, for sure. I mean, I think the standout player for this stretch, and basically for the last 2-3 weeks since that Cleveland game on Boxing Day, has been Pascal Siakam. He's just absolutely gone off during this stretch. His numbers are, let me see if I can pull them up here. His average,
put up the graphic.
His average 23.6 points per game in that stretch, 9.3 rebounds per game, which is both great numbers. But most notably, he's averaged 6.5 assists per game.
Yes.
Which is really, really interesting that happened during this time period. Because if you remember on the last episode, I mentioned something about how with Nurse not playing Dalino, not playing Malachi Flynn, Scotty Barnes was getting a chance to step into that backup point guard role. And that's still true to an extent, but I think what we've seen more than anything is Pascal step up and take over that playmaking role. Yeah, initiating, playmaking, just doing a little bit of everything. And he's absolutely just taken over these games. And it's the good Pascal that we're seeing. It's not the guy who's jacking up threes and not making them and making mistakes, running the floor and turning the ball over. It's getting in the paint, getting to his spot, finding open shooters, finding the basket, breaking down his man, getting to the rim. Like, he's doing all the things that he needs to do. And it's interesting because I went back and I looked at his numbers for this year compared to last year. And you look at the raw numbers, okay? The raw numbers, hardly any difference. Last year, 21.4 points per game. This year, 21.0 points per game. Last year, 4.5 assists per game. This year, 4.9 assists per game. His rebounds are up a little bit, but essentially, you look at that and you say he's the same player. Now, the advanced stats don't quite back that up completely, but it's really interesting because we're sitting here saying Pascal is such an improved player. Look at how great he's been. And there's no arguing that. He's absolutely been his best version of himself in the past 2 weeks compared to very early in the season when he was still getting his legs back from the surgery, or his arms back. I don't know how you put it.
Dude, it's hard to come back from a torn shoulder. I'm telling you from experience.
Yeah. So there is a little bit of an averaging out going on here. But I think it's really interesting that we're so excited about Pascal being this player when he's really isn't that much different functionally from the player he's been last year, the year before, when everybody was criticizing him. And I think it's all about expectations. It's all about the eye test. I mean, he's hitting his threes this year. He's not taking as many threes, but he's hitting a higher percentage. But his effective field goal percentage is only up a hair. Like, it's not like he's a drastically better player. He's being more effective. He's being a little bit more efficient. And he's finding his outlets for assists. And I looked up his potential assist numbers, 9.5 potential assists per game. So he's absolutely he's definitely finding guys. And that's a key factor in his growth to becoming that next level player. But the reality is Pascal's always been a pretty good playmaker for a big. He's always been a pretty good scorer for a big. It's just that what we've seen is Fred VanVleet has taken that next step. He's filled that void. And so with Pascal playing point man to him, with OG Anunoby stepping to the next level, we've seen the team kind of mesh together, and Pascal can just play his role. And he's not a drastically different player, but that player won us a championship. Like, let's not forget, that player basically, I mean, Kawhi was a factor, Lowry was a factor, don't get me wrong, but Pascal was a huge reason we won that title. And he has never stopped being a good player. What has happened is we've been sitting here saying he's got to be our all-star. He's got to be our Hall of Fame. No, he doesn't have to be that guy.
Number one option.
He has to be a really good player. Like Draymond Green, great player. He's not Steph Curry. That's the reality. Right. He's one cog in the machine, and when the rest of the pieces are working, it looks really good. And I just want to double back on the other point about how the team has been doing over the past week or so, and just that point about Nick Nurse piling up the minutes, and just this is not sustainable on Pascal, on Fred VanVleet. I think the Raptors are going to have to look into how to manage those guys' minutes better, because yes, when you have those 6 guys on a string working together, there's a very good core team here, but you need that depth to get through the regular season. You need that depth to be the best version of yourself, I guess. I mean, what is the upside of this team? Is this a championship roster? I don't think anyone thinks that. Playoff team, probably. 500, maybe. I mean, you can sort of look at that and you say, okay, so Nurse is playing.
I said 8th seed at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, so we look at that 6-man rotation Nurse is running. He's running him like it's the Game 7 of the NBA Finals right now. It's like you're playing, Pascal, you're playing the entire second half. VanVleet, you're sitting for 2 minutes at the start of the fourth quarter, and that's it. And that's just ridiculous. That's like, for him to justify that level of usage, this team would have to be on a certain trajectory that I don't think they are. So that's why I think it's going to come down to, pretty soon, it's going to come down to decision time with obviously the trade deadline coming up, about whether
February 10th, ladies and gentlemen.
Are we going to add to this core? Are we going to give these guys a break by bringing in bench pieces who can actually contribute? Or are we going to go the other direction and fade into the background a little bit and just kind of try and chase after a 10 seed once Trent and Birch get back? Because that's the thing, like, you can say, all right, we're going to expand the rotation to 9 guys once Trent and Birch get back. But let's be real, it's the NBA. Someone else is going to get hurt. You're going to end up running these guys into the ground. So the Raptors need to pick a direction, is what I'm getting at. The Raptors need to pick a direction. Are they selling? Are they buying? Are they tightening rotations? Are they playing young players? Because they're really caught in the middle right now. As fun as it's been to see these guys go, as fun as it's been to see Siakam take off, and Anunoby have these huge games, VanVleet put up an all-star campaign. Like what is the end game here?
Okay, Skip. I enjoy what you said. Papa, you're up, man. How do you feel about Pascal Siakam over the last, I'd say 12 games, because the last 12 games it has been ridiculous since he came back after that Cleveland Cavaliers debacle. How do you feel that he's leading this team? Do you think he's being more efficient as opposed to what he was last year when people were giving him all kinds of shit? And I said it, ladies and gentlemen, when they were giving him shit about not hitting late game shots and not handling and being that number one guy when we all know he's not here in Toronto. But the numbers are still the same, but the Raptors are winning with the way he's playing. Do you think it's more efficient, or do you think that it could be how the team, in the words of Skip, meshing?
I think it's him being more efficient. I do think obviously the team is meshing at a really good point as well too. But I think a large part of why they're meshing is because he's decided to take it upon himself to kind of facilitate that and make it happen more so than he has in the past. I know Skip really touched on this, but his assist number is going up, especially in January. I think he's averaging 6.5 assists right now. And then he did have that game against the Heat where he had 10 assists. And same thing.
Two in a row, actually.
Yeah. So same thing with that Bucks game as well too. He had 10 assists. Real quick though, how much of the haters are the Bucks though, taking away that triple double? Like the guy who took away those boards.
And did you see the tweet? Like, we'll take 75%. You'll take your 15 minutes of fame. We'll take our 23 hours. So salty.
Yeah.
So
and
salty.
And then Simu Liu from
Shang-Chi.
Yeah, where he retweeted and be like, yeah, whatever. I love that. But go on, Papa, please.
Yeah, so back-to-back games with 10 assists. I think one of the things that has really stood out to me on why he's been such a good facilitator is that now he's kind of looking for guys to pass to. Whereas in the past, I felt like he would drive more so to the basket, and then when he gets stuck because of his either spin move or his hop step, and the defender is forcing him into picking up his dribble, he would just pass the ball. Yeah. You either pass the ball or try and force a shot in that situation. Whereas now I think he's understanding that, hey, like I draw this amount of attention. I can drive to the basket. I can kick it out. And he's finding guys more in rhythm. So it's, to me, one of the reasons why it's gone up is because he's been able to see the floor a lot better. He's making better decisions with the basketball and able to pass it out as well too. And then speaking to the last 12 games, I know like the stats on the season have been the same. But if we do look at the 12 games, those numbers have gone up drastically. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep that up for the rest of the season, but I will say that he is clearly playing at a way better clip. I think that early on, because of his, like you said, trying to deal with his arm issue or his legs issue, or trying to get his arms back, those games were really bad for him. So those have kind of sunk down those numbers. But in the last 12 games, if he's able to keep this up for the rest of the season, then his averages should technically go up in that regard. But I do think a lot of...
Do you think he's going to average 40 minutes a game for the rest of the season?
Where the legs?
I definitely don't think so, because obviously I don't think he can keep that up. But I do think he is capable of at least increasing his averages slightly going forward. So I do see him maybe potentially finishing with like 23. And his assist numbers, I think, could stay. I don't see why those numbers should go down necessarily.
Well, as long as the Raptors don't have any backup point guards, like he's going to have to be passing the ball, right?
Exactly. So yeah, on that front, I do think it is. And then a major thing real quick before I pass it on back to you, Brian, is that his defense has been really good as well too. Him getting those steals has been a huge contribution to this team. And you know how this team loves to play defense and run in transition. And that's what they've been able to do with him getting some of the steals. Like the last 3 games, he had 3 steals, 5 steals, 2 steals. So it's been a really good defensive effort from him as well too.
Yeah, I really like what I'm seeing him put out there on the floor. Guys, I'm gonna talk a little bit right here, but over the last 12 games since he came back after that Cleveland debacle, I really enjoyed what I've seen from him, even though he is averaging 39.4 minutes per game, right? That can run you to the ground. We're not even going to talk about the Nick Nurse of the bench rotation and everything right now, but his numbers have gone up. He's been very steady. He's like right up there with some of the most elite players in the league currently that are playing.
Yeah, I love that graphic. You said the graphic they flashed on the broadcast yesterday. It was like players with 20 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds, and or maybe it was 6 assists. And it was
it was 5. I think it was 5 assists, but yeah.
It was like Luka, Giannis, and like who else?
Jokic and Harden.
And Harden. Yeah. It's crazy.
And right now, Pascal, like over the last 12 games, he's a total of plus 90 when he's on the court. If you average it out per game, he's a plus 0.75, a plus 7.5. Sorry. So he has had a definite impact on that floor. You did mention, Papa, about his passing ability, and you just made like a light spark in my head, bro. Okay, I think he's getting that passing ability and seeing it and trusting in his other teammates when you have somebody on the floor that can do what you can do, as in Boucher, as in an OG, as in a Scotty Barnes, somebody that's down there where, even a Justin Champagnie, where you just, you create. And like you said, he's drawing the attention, which, thank you. I've been trying to say this last year. I've really been on that. Okay? Sorry if I get a little upset, ladies and gentlemen. But the attention was all drawn to him because he was known as the first option. Now for him to actually be able to dump it off to these guys who are very valuable and very useful and can finish at the rim, I think it's really great to see that he's recognized it. It's going to throw a wrench into the cogs and machinery of the other team when they do go to defend the Toronto Raptors, because Pascal he's tall enough, he can't keep the head out. If he sees a Scotty coming, right? If he sees a Champagnie going, right? If he sees a Boucher, you know what I mean? He could also turn back. He could also turn back and throw it to Freddie, right? For Freddie to handle it. So he's very aware of that, and I'm very impressed with his maturity and where he has come since we've seen him start, guys. Skip, what do you got to say?
I just want to say, I think the thing you're talking about with him knowing where guys are and where to pass it is very accurate. And I think that is one reason why we can see why Nurse is playing these six guys so tightly on a string, because these six guys know each other, and they've to some extent all played together for a period of time. And so it's a lot easier for them to seamlessly slide into that offense, to be in the right spots, for Pascal to know where they're going to be. Whereas you throw even a Utah out there, it's like, Utah's a bad example, maybe, because he'll probably get to the spot in the corner. He just probably won't make the shot. But like,
why are you dissing my boy?
I'm just saying, like,
come on, man, he ain't Svi.
If you start throwing out guys like Dallino, like Flynn, they're not going to be in the right spots. They're not going to be on that string like the six guys that he's leaning on so heavily. So I think that's one argument why Nurse is keeping the rotation so tight, so that everyone can mesh together really tightly. But eventually you're going to have to bring someone else in, whether that's DJ Wilson, sign him to a deal, whether it's a trade, whether it's maybe just Utah playing like he should be playing. I don't know. He looked pretty bad the last two games, but yeah, anyway.
Okay, guys, before we get out of here, do you guys have any final thoughts on Pascal Siakam over the last little stretch? Pretty much since the new year. And by the way, again, like you said, Papa, Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm just going to say this 2-week stretch might be the best stretch of his career, or maybe it's 3 weeks. Might be the best stretch of his career. He's kind of on that triple-double watch, and I got to say, my early career comps to like a Russell Westbrook, the good version of Russell Westbrook, not Laker Russell Westbrook, like I'm talking prime Russell Westbrook. I think there's something to that, because he can be that kind of a player a little bit, not exactly.
Stop it, Russell Westbrook is selfish. Stop it. Stop what you're saying. No, Russell Westbrook is just.
I'm just throwing the name at this.
What did he say? What did he say the other day? No, I'll hit this. What did he say the other day? Life is more important than basketball. There's other things that I got to deal with.
Did you hear he got a job?
You paid millions of dollars. Do your damn job. I don't care.
I thought he was a janitor now.
Yeah, that's what I said on Reese's report. I said at least we know he can get a job being a janitor. He's doing something he's good at. But come on. You're comparing Pascal to get out of here.
Like OKC
Pascal
Westbrook.
To Russell Westbrook. At least Pascal hit his 3-pointers.
Yeah.
They've been killing him online. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the memes where it's been like
I'm one of those people.
This is what Tupac would look like, and it's an old picture of Tupac, and he's like, this is what Tupac would look like if Russell Westbrook was the shooter. So
Oh
No.
They've been murdering him.
That's
No.
wrong. That's wrong. That's just
Yeah,
No,
wrong.
you gotta
they've been
send that
absolutely
to me.
torturing him. Yeah, I'll send it to you after. It's hilarious.
You know
I've
I'm a
been
pot
dying.
guy.
There's
You know
a
I'm a pot guy.
JFK one too. There's a JFK one too, which is pretty hilarious. So
Oh my God, you gotta send those to me. But before we head out, Papa, so do you have any like last things you want to say about Pascal and maybe to him if he is watching this? Spicy P, let's get it hot up in here. I want some wings with some hot sauce.
yeah, it's been a good turnaround for him, especially for how much criticism he's been taking. And I've definitely been one of those people who is harsh on him and his play. I mean, not as harsh as I know other people have been, but I've definitely criticized what he's been doing. So it's good to see him meshing well right now. I think as well too, what you mentioned with that plus minus stat. I think that's also another reason why Nurse is playing him that much, like Skip had said, just because like you probably see those plus minus numbers and you're like, okay, I got to keep this guy in. So it's kind of hard to really take him out in that aspect, but he's been solid. He's been really good. And yeah, All-Star P, man, that's all I got to say, man. He's been really good. I think he's going to be one of the players on that All-Star team. So
You guys go down there. Hashtag NBA All-Star, hashtag Pascal Siakam. That counts as a vote.
100%.
Okay, Skip? You were going to say something there?
No, I was just going to say we haven't really talked about the All-Star conversation with Pascal. I don't necessarily think he's going to make it, but he's got a shot. He's been there before. I think Van Vliet is our more likely All-Star, but if there's two, Pascal could make it.
You don't think he's going to make the reserves?
He might. I think I don't know if he fully deserves it, but he's in the conversation. I haven't sat down and broke down like which 14 players should make it or anything.
Yeah, we're saving that for another episode, right, Skip?
Yeah.
So, Papa, thank you again, man. Like you say, every time you come on the show, it just runs like butter. We're running out of time right now. Right? It ain't nothing but like butter on a biscuit. You know when you go to Red Lobster and you put the butter on that biscuit? You know when it's fire? But like we just ran through a lot of stuff, guys. And Papa, thank you very much again for coming on the show. You know, you're a very good friend, and we consider you a family member of To The Point. And we appreciate.
Hey, upgrade.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I can't call you Papa. I gotta call you Aquaman, right?
That was the name. That's honestly been the most clever nickname. So,
Aquaman. Okay, well, thank you for coming on, Skip. I love seeing your beautiful face. You guys go down there, click subscribe, click like, leave a comment. Remember, when we get to 400, that's gonna go to somebody. Could be you. Could be you, or could be you, or could be you, or could be you. Could be anybody. Okay? Just go down there, click subscribe, leave a comment, click like, let us know what you think. We appreciate your Raptors content. Like, we see you guys online. That's why we do these shows, just for you guys to get into it, just to clarify certain things. So, on behalf of myself, Skip, and Aquaman, Papa Minnow, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and
Peace.